Good evening, everyone. Thank you for watching. So we've got a spring forecast for the Northwest U.S. So this is going to be my last spring forecast for these little regions of the Northeast. And then after this video, it might even be out already, I'm going to be doing a spring forecast for the entire country. And we're also going to be looking at the the precipitation outlook for that as well. So for this video, we're going to be focusing on the Northwest, and then we'll focus on the entire country later. But this is the GFS that we're going to start out with for basically just your temperatures, and we're going to go through, how as far out as we can get with this. Then we'll kind of see how our temperatures are looking, what kind of pattern we're going to be dealing with it. So this is going to be tonight. And you've got temperatures that have been pretty hot. I mean, considering that it's not quite May yet, so it's not we're not getting into that preparation for summer, and it's not like in the daytime. This is 8 p.m. tonight. You've got temperatures ranging from like the 40s, maybe even the lower to mid 30s, all the way into the 50s, and then for some places maybe even the 60s, like as we're seeing here a little bit farther, southwest. You're dealing with widespread 60s and, maybe even getting into the upper 60s for parts of eastern Colorado, all of Nebraska, and I believe this would be Kansas. I'm not sure because this is cut out, but I mean, anyway, this is just a lot of warm air that's going to be trying not to fade out of the picture here. But this is just for tonight. This is not like an entire week or something with these kind of temperatures. But the cold will definitely return. You can see here in Idaho and southern Montana, you've got temperatures that dropping into the teens. You can see here in Washington, Oregon, you're dropping into the 20s for some places. Same thing for you guys in Northern California. But the coastline, man, it's not warm. You're not reaching above 50 degrees tonight, but then it'll warm up slowly tomorrow. This is midday tomorrow, but you're not seeing temperatures getting over 60 degrees. And the warmest you're going to get for, like, considering just the Northwest, it would probably be Montana. But if you do want to include parts of Colorado, Wyoming, and Nebraska, it would probably be you guys. So it would probably be eastern Colorado settling at a 70 degrees, which was actually it's pretty high considering what we saw this winter. This winter we saw record breaking low temperatures, and we saw that insane like cold snap where it was one time it was like 50 degrees, and then the next like half hour later it was in the 30s. But it was crazy. But this warm trend will continue where it gets really cold at night. You might have some relatively gusty winds that could be gusting from offshore because you do have that low pressure system that is out here in the Pacific that's kind of just been spinning around out there. I know this is not even on the map, but if I could do it, I'm going to put a low pressure symbol right there. Then you've just got some like bands of gusty winds that are really going to be pairing with a lot of cold air to make conditions very cold. So at night, I really want to make sure that you guys don't have any plans for like an outdoor night parties or something. It's not a good idea. You should really wait until like when it's the middle of the summer because that's where you don't have any cold air left. It's like all trapped up north. That's really the best time to do those outdoor plans, but it's still not warm enough. It's like it's kind of like picture it like going to the beach when you're going swimming. Like you have to wait until you have a few days in a row where it's in the 90s so the water can warm up. It's not warm enough yet. But then you get another very strong and substantial shot of warm air here. That's going to send temperatures into the 40s, 50s, and then a lot of places you could get into the 60s and then the 70s for eastern Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, the Dakotas, all of you guys are gonna get a pretty nice warm up around the 10th, and then this gets even warmer. Now you're getting into the 70s for a lot, like everybody's getting into the 70s. It's like a warm fest out there, if you want to put it that way, but this is widespread warm air. You could get even up to 75 degrees here for southern or eastern Montana. But it's going to get very warm. And then you get another shot of warm air that sends temperatures into the 80s for South Dakota. So, spring is here and it's definitely going to get warm fast. But we'll continue this. You do get a few days of some very cold air. Look at this night here. This is actually the morning. This is a morning of the 13th. Everyone here along the coastline is in the 20s, the 30s, and then some places the teens. But it's going to be frigid these nights. But you just got to wait a month or two until those temperatures finally warm up during the night. But the coastline is really, the northern coastline of the Northwest is really going to be cold at night, but it's also going to warm up a little bit in the daytime. But then there's going to be a long period of like almost no warmth at all. This is midday the 15th, but all you're seeing is the highest temperature you're seeing here is 68 degrees in central California. That is not warm, honestly. Really, you're not gonna have warm air probably from, let's see, I don't know, this is like the 12th to like early the 15th. That's when that warm air is gonna come back. From the 12th to the 15th is when you're not gonna have any warm air. Then it finally returns. The coastline finally starts getting, a lot of warm air. And now you're seeing these waters starting to warm up. So like the temperatures, the air temperature around these waters start warming up. So you got 40s, 50s, and 60s here. Then on the coast, you've got 70s, 60s, and then 80s for California. So there's no doubt that the two areas that are going to get the warmest air is right here for northern and central California, and maybe a bit of southern Oregon, and then this whole area here of Montana, Colorado, the Dakotas, Wyoming, all of you guys. I know Wyoming in this picture right here is like freezing, but there's just no doubt that the warmer air is going to be farther east. But here comes that really big wave of warm air, and then look at this. Stretching into Canada, you've got widespread 70s and 60s. This is in Washington, upstate Washington. You've got 81 degrees right here. California is baking in the 80s. Everyone is getting 70s, 60s, 80s, you name it. But it's going to be very warm around the 16th, 17th, and then to probably the 20th. You got a bit of a cool down, but then almost the same exact picture comes back around the 18th, and it's just a warm fest for everybody. And you're getting 81 degrees here along the borderline of Washington and Oregon State, and then this is just crazy. The amounts of warm air is just overwhelming that cold front. That's basically how that cold front has absolutely nowhere else to go. Because if we switch it briefly to the rest of the country, you can see pretty much everyone is in this warm air. Look at this area of the Southwest. This is crazy. You're like 90 degrees here. It's just everyone is escaping that cold air, and the coldest air is well into Canada. So there is nowhere else for that cold air to go. So it is really, once that warm air really makes it to the Northwest, that's a signal for that cold air to just leave, and then it's gone. So there's not much really to talk about because it's the same picture. So, probably from the 17th out, it's going to be just very warm for everybody. All right, so now we're just gonna look at what the National Climate Center has to say about this, and we're just gonna be looking at the temperature outlooks for the 13th to the 17th, then for the month of April, and then for the rest of the spring. So just to show you guys what the key is here, is the orange and red is all above normal for temperatures, and then the blue is leaning below normal or likely below normal, and then the gray here is near normal or just normal. So obviously we'll go to the northwest, and you can see here that a lot of you are in near normal temperatures, so that's a good sign. But I mean, this warm air here I was talking about with eastern Montana, Nebraska, and Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and then eventually Nebraska if, we went further east. But, I mean, this is going to lead to a lot of snowmelt, which could definitely be a problem because those rivers have already been rising, and there's still a lot of snow left to melt because it has been a historic snow season for some of you guys. So there's a lot of snow to melt out here, and that's going to cause some problems. But luckily, there is a bit of below average temperatures here, but a little bit farther south, like southern Oregon, all of Nevada, California, and then a bit of Utah. But the rest of you guys are either in warmer temperatures or just near normal. So it's something to definitely consider paying attention to, and that's why you may stumble upon some randomly flooded roads just on a normal day. It's just because of all this, snow melt that the water has nowhere else to go, but it just flows into those, the rivers, the lakes, and then the ocean, and then you just get these rivers. They overflow their banks, so then the water just floods into the streets, and then that causes major problems. So it's really going to take a few weeks and then maybe even a month for this to finally get cleaned up, but there is going to be a lot of snowmelt due to temperatures rising. So for the months of April, where you have widespread below average temperatures, I do not see any point in issuing this, even though they issued this back in March 31st. I honestly do not see any point in issuing below average temperatures for the whole Northwest. I think we could definitely put out a little bit of above normal temperatures for these states a little bit farther east. I mean, but I really don't see any below average temperatures showing up on the GFS model, even though it was very cold. That's during the night, so that's completely normal. That is 100% normal, and that does not show any reason of issuing below average temperatures. So you can see that also off the coastline, you're still in that below normal temperatures. I can see that, but I really do think that the warm air, there's just too much warm air off to the east to issue a below average temperature outlook for all of these states farther east. So it's just my opinion. I know this is the National Climate Center, but in my opinion, I would definitely issue an above average temperature outlook for these states farther east. But I'm not going to argue. I'm just saying this is my opinion on it. So, I mean, everyone has their own opinion. You guys too. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. But that's pretty much what I think is going to be happening for the month of April. So now we're just going to be looking at the rest of the spring. So we're going to switch ahead now to obviously the Northwest. Let me get a good picture here. And it's still, I mean, I'm not really going to argue with this because I can definitely see how they got this below average temperature, little area here for like Utah, southern Idaho, southeastern Oregon, and then parts of northern Nevada. I can see where they got that because you did see on the GFS these cold shots of air that just kept coming down from Canada. And they have nothing to do with anything out here in the Pacific. It's just a bunch of cold shots of air that have been stretching down giving like a another, like, if you want to put it, a revisit of winter for you guys in the central northwest. But I mean, there's nothing really to pay attention to because this is just leaning below. This is barely below average, and then for the rest of you, I mean, for eastern Montana, I would just ignore this if I were you. But I mean, you could do whatever you want. I honestly don't really have a care, but I do think though that there will be a few weeks of very warm temperatures for these far eastern states, like I've been saying, 5 times during this video. But I mean, for the most part, it's going to start out pretty cold, but then it'll gradually get warmer and warmer. And then, like, in a few weeks, it'll be consistently warm each day, and then the nights will also get warmer. So that's gonna wrap up the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, like, share, comment, subscribe if not subscribed to the channel. We'll see you guys next video. So I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.